Peoples of Russia, you have the floor.
Уважаемые члены форума,
Distinguished members of the forum, participants of the session, brothers and sisters. At this session of the Permanent Forum, we are considering the question of the health of Indigenous peoples, and this is a very important question. Of course, the physical health is very important overall in the context of human health. However, mental health is equally important, one's mental state. We deeply regret, and this is a great tragedy, the mental health of many indigenous communities in Russia. And I'm talking about entire communities, not just individuals, is in a very dire situation. Many generations have been living with the burden of lack of rights or protection for generations. And while there were times when this inequality could at least be spoken about in the context of the current totalitarian regime in Russia, it has become dangerous to even speak about this. For speaking about the colonization of the indigenous peoples of America, I could be prosecuted in Russia for this. People are being jailed and prosecuted for saying the truth in Russia. Unfortunately, there are no official statistics in Russia on the indigenous peoples of the far north and the far east and Siberia. All we see is reports about the happy lives, allegedly, of these indigenous peoples. I also do not have much data or official statistics, but what I can say is that when we carried out an independent study looking at various communities in Siberia, we saw that the situation was dire, and I'm sure it hasn't improved since the war in Ukraine. So in just one community that we looked at, there was not a single adult male over the age of 18 that did not have a criminal record. Some of these were minor offenses such as fights, but the vast majority of these men had been prosecuted for poaching. Can you imagine? Their lands, their resources were taken away, and then they're being called criminals for trying to seek their livelihoods. Hunting and fishing is the only source of livelihood for many to ensure that their families have money and have something to eat. How are people expected to feel when they are being exiled from their own lands and prosecuted and criminalized for carrying out their traditional activities? And for speaking the truth about this, you are also prosecuted. In December 2025, mass searches were carried out targeting activists across the whole country. 2 of them have been arrested and they face up to 20 years in jail. Many, as a result, have been forced to remain silent or leave the country. Entire communities, peoples are being left without a voice. I call for freedom for all of these political prisoners.
I thank the representative of the International Committee of Indigenous Peoples of Russia. I now call upon